So as normal, I'm going to show you, or rather I'm going to shuffle the cards up, and then I'm going to show you your card, okay? So, and then we're going to do the tactics as well. So I have the buyer's cards. So, so Tami, if you just look away for a second. Okay. And for you, Ariana, you have a budget or break even. And a tactic for you. So, Tami, we have, if Ariana, you look away just for a moment, or hide, that's another way of doing it. And we have a break even for you. And a tactic for you. Okay, you have 4 minutes to see if you can negotiate a satisfactory price for tons of apples, and try to practice with purpose the tactics that you have. And your 4 minutes, they start now.
Hello.
Hi, I am looking to buy a ton of apples, please. I own a few small bakeries and I'm looking for a supplier, but at the moment I only need a ton. So can you tell me a bit about your offers?
Yeah, sure, that's great. So we actually supply apples. We have quite a few buyers who are bakeries actually. You know, it really depends on what you're using it for, whether you want high quality or perhaps more lower quality apples. But I'm guessing if you're feeding it to people, you know, and you're probably going to want them relatively fresh, you're probably going to want higher quality, and that's around in the range of 700 to 800 pounds per ton. Yeah.
All right, so if I got that right, high quality apples are in the range of 700 to 800 pounds.
Yep.
All right, thank you for that. But actually, I'm looking for a mid-range quality of apples, given the fact that they are going into pies. And I'm also looking for a ton for 412 pounds. So can you tell me about a range of apples, depending on their quality, that I can get for 412 pounds, please?
Okay, so, right. So I actually meant that our medium to high is 700 to 800. If you wanted it all medium, we could maybe look at 600 to 700 pounds roughly. We'd be looking more at.
All right, thank you. So 600 to 700 for medium. What about your low quality apples?
So of course, because, you know, with delivery and everything, we would then be looking at maybe 550 to 650 pounds.
Was that 550?
To 650.
All right, so obviously I own a few small bakeries, so the price of 700 and 600 pounds per ton is just unacceptable. I am willing to negotiate around those 500. As I said, I'm looking for low quality apples, so 412 would be my offer. I am willing to pay for delivery costs if that is. So what do you say, 412 for low quality apples? And I supply the delivery costs.
Okay, so pay for delivery, low quality. 412 is still a little bit too low. But that would just really take you into the lower band of our range, so around the 500 range.
So you said around 500. You know, it is a small bakeries, and I am willing to expand. We are planning on expanding our brand, so maybe you could lower the price to 432 because we are, you know, considering on being your loyal customers. And obviously we will still pay for the delivery.
Yeah, I understand, and that's great, but really we are at the very bottom of my range here. I suppose if we could lock in another order, I could maybe come down to 470, just in the last 10 seconds.
All right, 470 sounds good. And we will be your loyal customer then. Thank you.
Oh,
Well done. Oh my God. There's a lot going on there, even though it's just those 4 minutes. Always fascinates me about that, okay? Now, I'm just going to ask the question. I know that we were talking about the 1 minute. Ariana, how did you get on in that negotiation? And particularly, what was your thoughts about practicing your tactic?
Yeah, as you said, 4 minutes is not a lot of time. So I think, you know, the fact that we managed to get a deal within those 4 minutes and our negotiation was quite interesting is really nice. Well, I had a tactic, broken record, and I tried to insist on my low price. So I think I did that all right. I wouldn't use the word good, but I think it was all right. I don't know how, Tami, what are your thoughts on our negotiations?
yeah, I think it was good. I think it felt very counterintuitive to move that much. Like it almost felt like, oh my gosh. But then it was bearing in mind that I was also negotiating on quality and other things as well. So I think the trade-offs made it a bit more worth it. But yes, that's how I feel about it.
Okay. All right then. And Tami, what about you? You had a tactic as well. So
Yeah.
how did you get on practicing your tactic?
So my tactic was establish a range, which was why I kept saying from, I think, in £100 range. It's an interesting one. It's not one I've used before. And yeah, it's definitely one that I would like to try again. It was really interesting to use.
Yeah, I like the way you used your tactic. It was really organized, and it made me made my notes organized, and you know, everything flew from your tactic, which was really nice. And I also used mine for the first time. I would definitely want to practice it a bit more. It was really good, I think.
Well, you both did extremely well. Let me show you what you had on your cards, so at least you get a perspective of where you were in the end. So,
okay.
It's quite useful to be able to understand there was this zone of possible agreement. All right, you started off with different ranges. You ended up at 470. So, you know, not bad. Possibly towards the seller end more than the buyer end. Okay, so that's good as well. And it'd be interesting to see actually how that actually occurred, because there's other things involved in there as well. But really well done. The establish a range one is a good tactic, and the broken record one is not one that often gets used. So definitely the question about, okay, how do I use it? And I'd like to try and practice it more often is really important. Before we get into that, Fred, what's your
well done, well done. So if I sort of take you through a little bit, sort of a précis of the things that I saw. So yeah, Ariana, you jumped straight in. I want to buy stuff. Now that's, from a salesperson's point of view, that can be pretty disorienting. Oh, someone wants to buy things, they get all excited. Puts you in a really good position, actually, because the salesperson, I'm nearly there. No, you're not nearly there at all. So yeah, that was interesting for me to see as a sales trainer. They said, so tell me about it. Again, we train salespeople. When people say something like that, they don't really mean tell me. Yeah, they're saying, I'm thinking about working with you, and you hear, oh, I'm going to tell you all my stuff. So the sales tactic here, and it works in negotiation, is to ask questions. Yeah, so tell me exactly. You tell me. No, you tell me about what it is you're looking for, what quality, rather than start to offer it up, because you could have saved a load of time to go, all right, you're after mid. Fine, happy days. Yeah. What kind of pies? What? And even asking about, I know you don't have much time in this, but asking somebody's business, they love that. That builds rapport because they get to talk about themselves. Yeah. And we're our own most favorite subjects, aren't we? So Ron jumped straight in. Questioning is real powerful. But yeah, you went in, you offered kind of the mid-range stuff. And then what are your thoughts? And I don't know if this is natural or whether you do it deliberately, Tami, but it's something that's very good, so don't lose it. You do that. You do that. which is a very thoughtful pose. And it's saying, I've said what I'm going to say. I'm going to wait now. Now, I do this deliberately because I talk too much. So hopefully it looks thoughtful, but what I do is I hold my mouth shut. Yeah, so it's a really good thing. So again, when you look at this, if it's not a deliberate thing, look at yourself and it looks really good. We moved on. I want a few. Unacceptable. Woo, get you. Strong word, yeah, but good. Well, played deliberately, I suspect. And then you said, but we can go to this price, but with delivery. Now again, I know it's fictitious, but let's imagine we've got. You're probably thinking, because I'll do delivery, I've got my own fleet of trucks. It's going to cost me nothing, actually. So that's why I'm happy to put that in there. Yeah, it's a good variable for me to use because it's low cost on my side. You also made a note. I don't know if you actually made a note or you pretended to make a note. Probably did make it because it's useful to keep track of what's going. But even so, it just made you look as though you were taking stuff seriously and you were thinking. Moved around. That's a little too low, and you were using nice language, both of you, because you wanted to get there. I'll be loyal. Yeah. What does that even mean? I'll be loyal. Yeah, I'm sure you will. Put me on the list. Yeah, I'm on the list. Doesn't mean anything. Right. We will lock it in. Now that means something. So that was really cool. I was happy with that. And then we sort of got to the time, tick, 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 tick. Time is a nightmare in negotiation. When you're running out of time, you kind of get panicky. Time's not on our side. So you flagged it up because you knew you were close to the thing. So come on, there's only 10 seconds left. Right, I better say yes then. Yeah, so you use time. You use time really well by keeping your eye on that clock. So loads of good stuff in there. Yeah, that I've flagged up. So when you watch it again, be aware of picking up on those. And so Phil will pick up on a couple and just take you even deeper as to why that works so well in negotiation. But no, I really enjoyed watching it, actually. It was nice. Lots of good stuff.
Right, absolutely. So Fred's definitely picked up a few elements there. So I'd like to just sort of catch on a few other bits here as well. Okay, so absolutely. At the very beginning, buyer, Ariana, you put out a few tons, 1 ton. I've got a few bakeries out there looking for a new supplier. What do you have to offer? Tami, high quality or low quality? What they're for, because we've got a range between 700 and 800. Now, the only thing is you kind of asking a question, but you didn't get through to actually asking the question. You kept talking all the way through, and then you put the range down. Okay, so the range is 700 to 800. Now, I always like to look at the reactions of the other person, particularly when we know what they've got on their cards. So we know what they've got on their cards, and the 700 to 800 is obviously at the top end, but it's still acceptable. Yeah. So I was looking, and Ariana, there wasn't any non-verbal sort of pushback or any kind of shock and awe. So you weren't playing any sort of professional flinch, which is sometimes what you actually get, okay? But you did qualify. You kind of summarized it a little bit. So you said high quality, 700 to 800. What about your mid-range? Because we're only making pies, 1 ton, maybe because I'm looking at £412 a ton. So what's your range at 412? Now, I thought there's a couple of really good things there as well, okay? Which was, first of all, you wanted something else, which is there, but you also put in an odd number. So when you put in an odd number is a bit of a kind of a cheeky thing as well. What does that mean? So I don't know. Tammy's thinking 412. I'm going to ask you, Tami, what did you think when you heard the 412?
The main thing I just thought was that it was too low. But I don't know, it didn't really make me feel any kind of particular way. Maybe just that, that's just strangely specific. But then I just perhaps tend to round it up in my head to 420.
Okay, yeah. But the interesting thing is when you heard that, there was no reaction from you either. All right, so again, no non-verbal pushback. And of course you had a kind of a low break-even point. So that's actually quite a low one in that card as well. But you then went on to clarify and you said, actually, the mid-range is 600 to 700. Now, Ariana's, so 600 to 700 from medium quality. What about the low quality? So I quite liked it because actually you were putting a range in there and then Ariana's actually following the trail down. Now, of course, you could have put a range in there and said, look, my mid-range is 600, my high quality is 800, and my low quality is 550. So you could have put that all the way out there and seen what the reactions were on it as it was. But actually, you led some questions all the way through. You had low quality is 550 to 650. And then this is where Ariana again sort of commented about the 700, can't really do that, and repeated the 412. And then added to that, you know, we're willing to pay for delivery. And then I was waiting to see if there was anything more. And actually, Tami, you went silently. So you actually almost used a silent tactic. You didn't say anything at all. Because then Ariana then repeated itself again. You know, the 420, low quality, you know, and I'll pick it up. So, I mean, what I would be saying there is like, I think the broken record tactic of what you were trying to do was more of an anchoring tactic, because you were trying to anchor the number of 412. So you kept repeating 412, 412, 412. The broken record tactic is slightly different, at least in my mind, but it's entirely up to different people how they want to do it. So it's a broken record is almost trying to give the same message. It's the message that you want, you know? So I want the lowest price. I want the lowest price. You know, I just want the lowest price. Just keep going on and on. There's a great YouTube one, which is about the dentist, and it's a kind of a good example of that as well. But you can keep repeating the price that you have or the numbers that you've got to try and force the expectations of the other person down as well. But that really worked well. Now then, at the 412, Tami, you eventually acknowledged the 412 and you went 400, 412. That's a little bit too low. And you know what I always say, when I hear those words, it's a little bit. If you ever hear a bit or a little bit, it's often a signal that it's either acceptable or not far off acceptable. And even if it's not, the next movement that Ariana needs to be looking at is just a little movement. You said 412 is a little bit low. Well, okay, I'll come in at 415. All right, because that's a little bit more. Okay, you don't have to move by hundreds. So listen out for what the other party has to say. And I think at this point you also then made a counter offer of 500. And then it was about loyalty. And I think again, Ariana came in there with 432. She likes the odd numbers. So 432, and I'll become a loyal customer. Okay. When it comes to the range, Tami, you were absolutely trying to put a range in there. You were putting some numbers in there. You were qualifying them with high quality, medium quality, low quality. Ariana, you were looking to use a broken record, so you kept repeating your number specifically. And, you know, ultimately we drew all the numbers quite low down. So I thought both of you did very, very well. I would look out for some of that language though, the little bits. And I would also be careful about the if, you, then we. So Tami, you said, if we can lock you in for another order, we can do £470. All right. I don't know what the other order is though.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you're going to do that, if you as a counter proposal, I'd be more along the lines of saying, well, look, Ariana, if you were to buy 2 tons, I could do you low quality at £470 per ton. All right, so you do the if, you, then we, the condition, my concession, it's nice and clear. Otherwise, if it's ambiguous, be very, very careful. You don't want your proposals to be ambiguous. Keep it clear and then step back, go in silence.